The vast majority of people, 84% in fact, believe in karma. Problem is that most people's definition of karma is completely wrong. In this video, I'm going to break down what most people believe about karma. I'm going to share a personal story about how this belief in karma created so many problems in my life, and I think it creates many problems in many people's lives. I'm then going to go through a Buddhist interpretation of karma that I think is much more healthy, empowering, and accurate. I'm here on a beautiful river with my mother, Jeanette Brown. We're looking for crocodiles. I'm hoping that we can find some crocodiles along the way. So I'm going to keep on telling you about these stories of karma, and I'm hoping that we don't have bad karma and that crocodiles are not going to make their way onto this boat. So in order to break down what most people believe about karma, it's actually a very good opportunity to talk to Jeanette Brown, because Mum, I know that you were raised as a Catholic. Is it true?
Yes, I was raised as a Catholic. It was very much a family religion. I come from a large family and we're all raised as Catholic, going off to Mass every Sunday. I had my first communion, my confirmation, and very much in the rituals of being a Catholic.
So that's really interesting, because I think that the conventional understanding of karma comes from religion, and most of us believe in karma as some sort of cosmic reward and punishment system, and it's as though we need to obey God, obey the rules of a religion. When we can obey that, then good things are going to come to us in our lives. I was very lucky, thanks to my mother as well as my father. I was never baptized, and they managed to create a big change in our generations, right? In terms of evolution, they made the decision not to raise me as a Catholic or a Christian. So I was sort of raised more as an atheist, but I think in our culture, this cosmic reward and punishment system, it sort of seeps in. What do you think, like being raised as a Christian or Catholic, right? Do you feel that you're taught that you need to do good things in the eyes of God? Like, is that true? And that creates good karma?
I think what it is, you've got God watching over you. So if you do something good, then yes, you would think God can see that. Being brought up as a Catholic, I'm talking about being, very young here, you had this thing about Catholic guilt. If you didn't do what you were meant to do, then of course there's all this guilt about breaking the rules of the religion and therefore displeasing God.
So that's exactly it. And then in my understanding of karma, it's not just Christianity that teaches this, but I think most religions, especially the religions where they teach us that there's some sort of like a God in the sky, a God that's separate from this field, that's always watching over us, that's always judging us, and we grow up with that kind of guilt in place. And we think that we need to build up the good things that we do in life to build up the stock of good karma that's out there. So I think one of the extensions of this cultural belief in karma that we end up growing up with is that we think that the things that happen to us in our lives are a result of all of these things that have happened in our past. It might be that if we don't get that promotion, that we don't deserve it at a deeper, fundamental level. I think in New Age spirituality as well, there's this deeper understanding of karma, that we need to do good things in order to get good things to come to us in our lives. We need to operate at a high vibration so that we can manifest what we really want in life. I've seen it, come about in ideas around Akashic records and things like that, where it's as though there are all of these contracts in place in the spiritual energy fields. And I've met a lot of people that feel like they just can never get ahead in life, that the universe is working against them.
If I look at my beliefs now, and as we've talked about me growing up as a Catholic, and then I very much embrace the New Age movement, and the fact that you've just mentioned, Justin, about the actions you do are reaped back upon you. But that sort of has evolved now too, as well as the personal development field has evolved, because now I think it's all about, when you talk about vibration, it's actually about having that energy to be able to act in accordance with your values. And if you keep on doing that, it's not that you're doing that so something good will happen to you. You're doing that because it makes you feel good about yourself. And then as time goes on, that energy is surrounding you, and you will get the the good happening back. But that's not the reason you're doing it. It just so happens that way. You'll head in the direction of those actions that you need to take or want to take to be able to reach those goals or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve.
For me, when I've been thinking about karma, this is exactly the issue. So there's a difference between thinking about karma in terms of when we do good things in life, that it contributes to a cosmic field out there, that there's something pulling the strings, there's like a creator, you know, like an external God that's really going to reward or punish it. So this cosmic reward and punishment system versus I think something that you're talking about, which is much more grounded in the moment, connected with your values, operating in that way. So before getting into kind of breaking that down, and I think a really good way to live life, I know a lot of people watching come from this cosmic reward and punishment system. I mean, 84% of people believe in karma, and that's our cultural roots. In my life, I used to believe deep down in the cosmic reward and punishment system. So when I started IdeaPod many years ago, it was about 10 years ago, and I had a business partner who, you know, joined forces with me to launch this big idea. So we wanted to build the next big social network for ideas. It was a huge mission, and he pointed me in the direction of Esther Hicks. Okay, so for those of you that don't really know much about Esther Hicks, she's a new age guru, hugely popular, and she claims to be channeling this collection of spirits. So she kind of gets into this hypnotic trance-like state and she starts channeling. And she teaches us that we need to operate at a really high vibration, and that's when we can manifest our big ideas, our big dreams, and things like that. So my business partner at the time, he said, you know, Justin, we really need to operate at a higher vibration. We've got to, you know, be at that level. Right? I mean, you remember these days as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
What was I like back then when I started to practice the law of attraction and follow Esther Hicks? Do you remember those days?
I just remember a couple of things, because it was actually really well known, this law of attraction. It had been around for years. And I don't know whether you were joking, Justin, or not, but one day you said, Mark and I have gone on to this fantastic thing called the law of attraction. Not that many people know about it, but it's just a, you know, thing that we will attract back what we want with this law of attraction. And I remember sort of not being awful, but laughing to myself because it was so prolific everywhere. Like everyone had been talking about it for years. Yeah. And
I thought I was on the cutting edge, right?
Justin and Mark thought, oh, we've found this amazing thing that other people aren't doing.
Yeah. That's exactly right. A real arrogance, I think. But this is part of the point. Like, I watched all the videos. It sort of programmed my mind, and I started to believe that this was the reality we live in. But the problem in my case, apart from the kind of arrogance that creeped in, and I was thinking I was higher vibration than people around me, I had this hierarchy.
You had this secret.
I'd figured it out, and other people just weren't positive enough or optimistic enough. You guys gave me a nickname, which was the Electron, right?
Yeah, Electron.
I don't even know which one's the positive charge. They nicknamed me like the positive guy, the Electron. The Proton. I know nothing about science. That was the Proton. Always like high vibration, go and do this, do that, right? But here's the problem. I think that because when you try to practice something like this and it integrates with a karmic belief system, and I'm talking like in the subconscious level, so you don't think about karma, but it's all deeply ingrained. I embraced the law of attraction, embraced vibrating highly, and I set about this huge mission to change the world with a social network for ideas. It was a great idea, a great venture, but we achieved success along the way, and that confirmed in my belief in the law of attraction and trying to vibrate highly. So that's why we were being successful. But then failures started to creep in. And instead of kind of seeing it for what it was and trying to learn from those challenges and just get on this evolution of what was going on, I started to feel really guilty, and I felt like it was bad karma. And I started to question, like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I vibrate at this higher level? And it just turned really toxic. Do you remember those things creeping in?
Yeah, things weren't quite working out the way you had it all planned.
That's right,
and
yeah.
you were doing this law of attraction, you're doing all the right things, you've done all your homework and your studies and you knew it theoretically, but the thing is, I think the law of attraction goes far beyond all that. So,
absolutely, yeah.
You got very frustrated, as fair enough, because things weren't working out the way you were wanting them to.
Yep, that's right. We've shifted around so that I can keep a good eye on the banks in case the crocodiles do come towards us. We are in Cairns, Australia at the moment, which is where Mum and Dad have just gotten a holiday place that more like a home, probably spending a lot of time here. And we are in crocodile infested waters and really hoping that we see them, right?
Yeah, as long as they're in the water.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's getting a bit scary because a boat just came past and I don't know if this is karma or what, but we're bumping around. Let's hope we don't discover the crocodiles at the wrong time. But yeah, in my own case, and I think many of us end up in this situation, things aren't going as we planned in life. We may be experiencing some failures. In my case, that's what was going on. What I had to do was to reconstruct this belief system in my life and shift away from these new age ideas around high vibration, manifestation from that perspective. It was so wrapped up in karma, in a cosmic reward and punishment system. So I had to drastically transform that belief system, and in my case, the Buddhist interpretation of karma really helped me to turn it all around. So this is a quote from Barbara O'Brien, and this definition of karma for me, it really speaks to me. The word karma means action, not fate. In Buddhism, karma is an energy that's created by willful action through thoughts, words, and deeds. We're all creating karma every minute, and the karma we create affects us every minute. It's common to think of my karma as something you did in your last life that seals your fate in this life, but this is not Buddhist understanding. Karma is an action, not a result. The future is not set in stone. You can change the course of your life right now by changing your intentional acts and self-destructive patterns.
I think that's a great quote. I really like it. And, you know, and saying karma is an action. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's actually about the way you live your life and how you perceive yourself in terms of your actions. And really, that's what's her name? Barbara is talking about.
Barbara. Barbara O'Brien, I think it was. Great quote. Huge fan of her work. Exposing me, Mum. But yeah, Barbara O'Brien, really, it's a great definition of karma.
Oh, it's fantastic. I really like it.
I'll give an example that a lot of people can probably relate to. So imagine that you're in a relationship and you've cheated on someone, and that's the kind of thing that, of course, many of us would feel guilty for. And we might be worried about having bad karma from doing that. My understanding of this Buddhist interpretation is that instead of being so scared of bad karma and the cosmic reward punishment system, we can shift our karma through our actions. So if you've cheated on someone, or the person who's cheated, what they can do is take the decision to either one, make amends, to be really honest with their partner, move on from the relationship. By embodying karma through action, they can make the decision to learn from the experience, and as bad as it is, to make sure that in the next relationship, that when those opportunities present themselves, to not go down the path of cheating. So that's the thing about karma, is that we can shift our karma by engaging in actions, in learning from our experiences. And I know in my own case with the businesses, we were heading down this path where I was so focused on trying to vibrate highly rather than seeing what was going wrong in the platform, seeing what we could fix, seeing the strategies that were just not quite working, and creating a whole new mindset that would create a whole new operating rhythm.
Well, it's interesting you talking about with your experiences with IdeaPod and all of that, because really it's a great example of you taking action, which you did, you really did, you absolutely did an enormous amount. But what you're saying now is, I took that action, I've learned from those actions, and now what I'm doing is, I suppose that's a form of karma. But that's what it's all about. It's actually not just the action you're taking, but you learning from the results of those actions that you've taken, so that you know you can next time you're in that type of situation, you actually can behave in a more values-aligned way.
That's absolutely right. I appreciate it. It's nice to have a mother like this mother, Jeanette Brown, who obviously been one of my cheerleaders the whole way through, and I've always really appreciated that. I think probably something you've always inspired me with your whole life, well, my whole life anyway, is that you've always been big on being really clear on what your values are, and that it's not so much about the outcome that you're driving towards, but something you've always told me is it's the journey that matters.
Yeah, well, it is, yeah.
Can you explain how that marries up with action-oriented behaviour, karma, shifting mindset?
Yeah. Well, just for one thing, there's a well-known saying, success is a journey, not a destination. So you keep that in mind. So it's really the way you live your life is more important than the actual goals that you achieve. But we all need to have something to work for, and intentions, and it gives us momentum to live our life.
It's going to drive us away from these roots.
Yeah, we're getting a bit close, and we don't really want to get caught up in the mangroves and not be able to move away.
Probably there'd be some metaphor we could make of it, but we just don't really want it to happen.
So I suppose what we're talking about here is living a goal of a values-focused life rather than solely a goals-focused life. But I'm not saying you do need to have goals, but it's the way you live your life. It's your core, the way you are aligned to your core values. In my career, but in education and as a coach, I've always been very big on people doing some activities so they can understand what their own core values are. We've all got our own individual set of values. And it's so important that you understand your values. For me, it started off very basic. I had my principle in life, before we even talked about values that much really, was I treat people the way I want to be treated. So that was my mantra for a long time in the beginning of the self-development field. Then there began to be all this talk about values, and that's a much more comprehensive way of looking at your life, because of course we have different values, and there might be some people might be more family oriented, others might be more adventure oriented and excitement in life, other people could be all about loyalty, so there's so many different types of values, and we all have our own that resonate with us. And what I generally say to people is, if you can determine your 5 or 6 core values and just keep them with you and remind yourself every now and again of what they are, because sometimes we forget, and sometimes our actions do not align with our values, and that's when really we start to have bad karma.
So the key point we're making is really 2 key points. The first is that most people think of karma as a cosmic reward and punishment system. They see themselves as existing in a universe where the real locus of power is in the hands of God or the gods or the universe, and they need to operate in a certain way in order for good things to come back at them. I think it's a very unhealthy way to live our lives. Instead, we can take control of our own destinies and understand that the actions that we take create positive karma through a shift in our mindsets by doing the right thing. And the other key point is that we need to live life in accordance with our values. So Mum, take it away.
What we're talking about, the difference here is living a life where you are living aligned to your core values, as against living solely a goals-focused life. So my key point here is talking about values, because it's actually the way you live your life. So of course it's about the actions you take. That's so important. But taking actions in alignment with your values means that you are living a successful life, and you are doing good because that is who you are, the person you are. So that's my definition of karma, and that's what I think is really important is living your life aligned to your values and taking action in alignment with those values.
That's a really great explanation of the importance of living life in accordance with our values. Mum, you're on YouTube, so it's a new YouTube channel. There's a link in the description below. Please go and check out your videos. What kinds of stuff are you posting about?
Well, look, it is a lot about living a values-based life, but also I bring in different evidence-based research that's taken place the last few years. So sort of moving away from that new age self-development field to looking at neuroscience and understanding and learning how our brain works.
So that's Mum's YouTube channel. Check it out in the link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Share your own experiences with karma and see you in the next video.